Yeah, so, well, imagine a world where you could learn anything you're curious about, right? Like why would you have to go to university to learn about stuff you're interested in? Why not just log into this thing and say, I want to learn about this, find some other people you can learn with, and then figure it out together? With people who are maybe older, I would say, well, same thing. Imagine a world where you could get recognition for anything, any achievement in your life that's actually important to you, even if, regardless of if it's a university course or not. But why shouldn't there be some kind of peer learning community that would help you get that recognition for things you've done out of school, in the afternoon, learning to shoot a video and edit it. Most people pick that up on the job, but don't have any kind of certification for it. So I think figuring out those two things, like basically learning opportunities for anyone on any topic, and the other one is certification opportunities for everyone. So there was a string of conferences around open education where a bunch of us got together, people working in the open education space, and the focus of all these conferences was production of content. Right? So everyone talked about how many courses their university has produced, how the medical school materials, and everyone was just talking about sharing materials, and supposedly that was going to solve the education crisis of the world. So there was this kind of nagging doubt that developed over time where we go, well, that's just the content, right? Like, how easy is it actually to use this stuff? And so 3 of us decided to try it out. We picked a topic we didn't know, psychology, and set up weekly calls. We chose some materials from a university I won't mention. We found out that it's incredibly hard. So we ended up becoming really good friends and actually co-founders of P2PU University, but we learned nothing about psychology. And I think what we figured out in that process is that what's more important is the social aspect, that bond that forms between people. And the content really is just the beginning of the learning experience. And so I think when that hit home, we decided to try it out and see if other people felt the same way. We set up a wiki with 7 courses, and actually someone here who was here took one of the courses, and then it just kind of went from there. So I think my two favorite courses were both courses that ran in the first round, and then both of them ran again. One I think ran 3 times even. One was Introduction to Cyberpunk Literature, which actually was a bad P2PU University course because the source materials are all closed, right? So if you want to read William Gibson, there's no Creative Commons licensed version. So the course actually remixed the curriculum to include Cory Doctorow, because his books are CC licensed. So they said, well, we have to read the classics in a way, like Snow Crash and Neuromancer. But then we're also going to read this other stuff because it's open, and and also Cory Doctorow, I think, was becoming a new voice in that space. So the Cyberpunk one, just because it was such an awesome community of people, and they produced a comic strip, it's just like a lovely little group. And then the other one, just because it shocked people so much, is playing poker and strategic thinking. And that was often used as the example why P2PU University is not a serious learning environment. And that course was actually taken from Harvard Law School. And so I loved that situation where people said, yeah, but come on, I looked at your website and you're teaching poker. And then to be able to say, yeah, but that's the one course we took from Harvard Law School, which, okay, well, it's a pretty experimental little institution in Cambridge, but still it's a university. So that whole playing with that, what is a real university course? I love that about the course. Now I think the courses are a little more, most of them are more skills oriented, so a lot of web development courses. We don't have so many liberal, really out there liberal arts courses, and I hope we'll get more again. We had one now, I never really understood exactly what it did, but it was something really bizarre, like reading the Bible in Greek. I don't know, it's it was not a Greek language course, but you were reading something in Greek that wasn't originally written in Greek. It's I don't know, but what I love about these courses is, people are interested in that stuff. And I just find that fascinating, that you can find people who have these bizarre little interests, and they come together and they work on them, And to give them a platform, I think is cool. Some of them are absolute experts, right? So some of them are teach at university. Some of them are PhD students studying a topic, teaching. Some of them are completely self-taught. People who are trying to learn something can run a course to learn it. And because you're not expected to know everything, but at least you need to know what you want to learn, right? So you kind of chart the trajectory. You say, these are the things I've always wanted to read. I've never really taken the time to do it. And I need 10 people to do it with, so that they keep me going, I keep them going, we'll compare notes. And some of those courses are like the cyberpunk course, great community spirit. I think sometimes having the expert in the room actually hurts the community spirit. In some other courses, like the tech courses, people often don't have, they don't have the typical credentials, like they're not professors, but they will have 10 years experience in the open source community. They'll be co-authors of some technology standard. So they are respected experts in a way, but they're not. They wouldn't be they would never get the job in the university to teach that course. So yeah, I mean, I think the expertise really lies in the group. I think that is the message, that everyone can bring something to the conversation, and if you have someone who can facilitate that conversation, it's probably more important than having someone who can answer all the questions. At least that's the premise. So I think there are two pieces. One is we help people. So we've designed an orientation process. We've kind of created a handbook. We're trying really hard to get people who have questions about the peer learning approach to have access to all the expertise kind of that's in the community already. People who've run courses before, people who've done research on peer facilitation. So we've tried very hard to give them the support that they need. So you help people. So we assume that people want to run good courses, and we help them. So that's the one side. That's the positive side. And then on the more kind of, well, some courses won't be great. Like how do you deal with those? In the long run, I don't know if you were here, but I made the distinction between Yahoo. Is that how you pronounce it? Or Yahoo, yeah, and Google. Yahoo filters or the old Yahoo at the directory filters at the input level, right? So you build a structure, you look at everything that comes in, you categorize it, and you say this is good, this isn't. Only makes it in if it's good. Google filters at the output level. It lets everything in, analyzes it all, collects as much data as it can, and then it presents it back to the user with this kind of implicit rating. So we would rather use the Google model where, let's say we have 1,000 courses, maybe 20 of them are horrible, but as long as I can tell the user, or I can give them some data that helps them figure out that they're awful, so they don't sign up for them, I'm fine with that. So we could show that this course was run before and everyone dropped out, or these are the testimonials of people taking the course before. So we kind of let you make smart choices rather than us making those choices for you. Because maybe there is a terrible course that's awesome for you, right? Maybe you're the one person that will really enjoy it. So why should I prevent you from that? But yeah, so I guess that's the quality. One is the people who want to run good courses, you help them do it. And then you help the users who are going to participate make informed choices. So one concern that we've always had, which actually doesn't keep me up because nothing bad has ever happened, and knock on wood, maybe nothing bad will ever happen, but is while we are fairly small, I'm worried that someone will come and run a really inappropriate course. Like, I think David made the distinction between a disposition of inquiry versus a disposition of, he didn't use propaganda, he used a more elegant term, but basically, are you trying to put your point of view across, or are you trying to learn something together? And so I'm worried that someone will come and run a hate speech course, or deny the Holocaust, or that kind of stuff. So that's definitely a worry. But nothing's bad has ever happened, and I think the community is kind of clued up enough now that we would see something like that coming very early, and we would stop it. The other thing I think is kind of comes with becoming more grown up in a way. So when you're just a project, you have no funding that you bring in, you don't hire anyone, you're not really responsible for anyone in that sense. And now, we're beyond that. We're a non-profit organization. We have grants that we get. We have responsibilities. People get paid. People's salaries depend on P2P University. I mean, very small number of people and very small salaries, but still, it's a responsibility. So I think that has definitely changed my role a lot. And this may be a personal perspective, but I feel more we have to be more responsible about the future sustainability of the project in a way, because we've taken on this responsibility. Yeah, that's something that's been a little bit surprising to us. And I think it's partly communication, like how do you communicate how P2P University works, and it's partly just what people are used to. So we have a lot of courses that are fairly traditional, that are, I would say, not as peer-to-peer as we would like them to be in a way. And sometimes it's the course organizer who comes with this just expectation that they have to run this course like a traditional course because that's what they feel most comfortable with, or they feel like that's the best way, which is fine. Like we don't ever go in and say, hey, you're teaching too much, or you're putting too much effort in. Obviously, you can do whatever you want, but the harder thing to solve, I think, is the expectation from people who see that there's something called a course, and they automatically assume that they will be taught something. And so we're trying to figure out how to change that. We're making changes to the communication. So we're starting to call courses rather study groups or learning communities. None of these terms are really great. And then also we've changed the description on the website. For example, when you create a course, there's a little disclaimer that says what that means to create a course and what's not expected of you. And we're doing the same for people signing up for courses. But yeah, I think it was surprising to us how, even though it's called peer-to-peer university, people still are so used to that traditional model that there's the expert and you learn from the expert rather than from everyone else, that we've spent a lot of time thinking about how to help people with setting up the structures of peer-to-peer peer learning courses, how to deal with the communication issues, and yeah, that was definitely not expected. So the goal is not to replace, it's not kind of our aim. I think there is some overlap between what universities do or colleges do today and what P2P University is doing and will be doing more of. And so there's definitely going to be some question, and I think maybe a valid question, right, where what is special about the traditional university and what is different about P2P University? And I think they are different. I think I can think of many reasons why they're different, but I think that question we're definitely asking that question. That maybe wasn't such a big question before, but the same way that Wikipedia asked a question about Encyclopedia Britannica, but I think theirs was more a more aggressive question and a more obvious answer that the open world can easily replace the closed world. I think that's totally not the case for, and also I don't think universities are part of the closed world, but I think it's totally not the case that P2P University would replace traditional universities. I think it complements it very nicely because it's different. Like universities have to have structure. So typically you spend 4 years there, and then maybe you go away, and maybe you come back, you spend another 1 or 2 years, and then some crazy people come back and spend 7 years, and end up working at the university. But but it's still pretty formulaic, and there's a huge amount of learning that people are interested in, and that's important. That doesn't fit into that structure, and so that's, I think, where I would like to see P2P University, rather than trying to figure out ways to teach undergraduate calculus at lower cost than the traditional universities. That's not really interesting to us. I think the School of Webcraft, which is kind of our core pilot now for web development, the goal is very much that a year from now we have some evidence that people are getting jobs based on their experience in School of Webcraft. So maybe we don't have hundreds of people getting jobs, but like at least anecdotal evidence that we feel confident that we can make the argument that that's there, and then we can build on that. But so certainly in that, for School of Webcraft, it's giving people job opportunities. Overall, P2P University, I would love to see more diversity. And I guess the other thing is I would like to figure out how P2P University doesn't become the home of the community, but it becomes a conduit. So the School of Webcraft is a good example. P2P University is not the community of web developers. School of Webcraft is, and then eventually Mozilla is, or some other community. And in a way, School of Webcraft is just a way to help people take the first step into this community of people that work with each other and that really determine what web development means and what are the technologies. But so if we can figure out a way to help other communities to bring in more people essentially into those communities, I would think that would be a huge success.